Think about juggling 10 balls at once. You can imagine how difficult it is. You need to keep sharp eyes on all the balls. Because if you miss even a single ball, your entire show will be spoiled. Managing a project is similar to this. Like many balls, a project has many activities or tasks in it. You need to monitor all the activities, including their timelines and completion dates. If you miss a deadline for any activity in the project, the rest of the project activities will be affected. Gantt charts help in visually conveying the details of all the activities in a project so that you do not miss any timeline. Hello everyone. Welcome to the lecture series on health management. We discussed that management methods and techniques are broadly classified into 5 categories: statistical techniques, activity analysis, mathematical techniques, financial techniques, and others or miscellaneous techniques. Activity analysis includes techniques like time motion studies, work sampling and activity analysis, queuing theory, and Gantt chart and work schedule. In this session, we will discuss the Gantt chart and work schedule. Before we dive deeper into the origin and nature of Gantt charts, let's understand what a Gantt chart is. A Gantt chart is a horizontal bar chart that depicts a project schedule and shows the dependency relationships between activities and timelines. Simply speaking, a Gantt chart is a bar chart that represents the project activities against time. It is also known as a timeline chart. Like any other chart, it has 2 axes. The horizontal or x-axis represents the timeline, and the vertical or y-axis represents the list of activities to finish the project. Timelines are usually placed on the top. A list of activities is usually placed on the left side. Each activity is represented by a horizontal bar. The starting point of the bar represents the start date of the activity, and the end point of the bar represents the end date of the activity. The length of the bar represents the duration of the activity. If bars overlap with each other, that means there is an overlapping of the activities. Besides that, it also shows the start and end date of the entire project. In short, a Gantt chart allows the manager to see 1. What are the activities or tasks? 2. When does each activity begin and end? 3. How long is each activity scheduled to last? 4. Where do activities overlap with each other, and by how much? 5. And the start and end date of the entire project. Though the full form of Gantt is Generalized Activity Normalization Timetable, the name Gantt is based on a scientist's name. The history of the Gantt chart is quite interesting. In 1896, Polish engineer Karol Adamiecki developed a visual workflow chart called harmonogram. It was a graphical analysis of the work harmonization. The major reason behind inventing this diagram was to improve the display of production schedules at that time. Companies implementing his method claimed to have increased productivity by up to 400%. The only problem was that all findings were published in Polish and Russian. In 1910, a management consultant and engineer, Henry Gantt, took Adamiecki's concept to the next stage. Henry Gantt originally wanted to improve batch production in steel factories. He designed a chart to help manufacturing supervisors see whether their work was on, ahead of, or behind schedule. The first Gantt charts were prepared exclusively by hand. It formed the foundation of the tool we use today in project management. In 1917, during the First World War, a Gantt chart was used to assist the Ordnance Department at Washington to track the progress of the large orders for arms and munitions. With time, it underwent some changes, and in 1980, it got a sudden resurgence due to software industry development. Today, Gantt charts are most commonly used for tracking the progress of projects. Uses of Gantt chart. Gantt charts are versatile project management tools that have various purposes. They are used to plan, schedule, and monitor projects. During the planning stage, we can visualize the project timeline with the help of a Gantt chart. The visualization of timelines helps in identifying the critical path of the project. It also assists in the distribution and allocation of resources. When all the project activities are included in the Gantt chart, it is easy to create an accurate project schedule. Once you have a structured visualization of all the project activities and timelines, the Gantt chart shows you the activities needed to complete the project and how long they will take. This way, you can monitor the project's progress to execute it on time. More specifically, project managers use Gantt charts to prioritize activities and outline dependencies among them. Adjust project schedule. Recognize potential bottlenecks. Estimate delays. Optimize the complete process structure. Keep all project participants on track. And monitoring progress to ensure completion on time. Now, let us discuss the steps of making a Gantt chart. Grossly, there are 8 steps to create a Gantt chart. Step 1. Set up your project details. You must gather basic project details before mapping out activities on a timeline. The best idea for this is to hold meetings with the project team to identify the available resources, start date, duration, and end date of the entire project and all the activities in the project. Step 2. List the activities or tasks. Prepare a list of all the activities in the project with the support of all the team members. This list may have activities and sub-activities. An activity is a task to be completed. Activities are hierarchical in nature. That means there is a main activity, which is called parent activity. This parent activity can be broken down into sub-activities or child activities. A sub-activity or child activity can, in turn, be divided into further sub-activities, and can be a parent activity for those further sub-activities. If it is at the end of a branch of the hierarchy, it is a leaf activity. A leaf activity is an activity that has no child activity. Step 3. Sequence activities. Some activities can be completed simultaneously, and some cannot begin until another has finished. Every activity, except the first and last, is related to a predecessor activity and a successor activity. We need to place the activities in a sequence, which means in the correct order using the right relationships. A constraint is a type of condition set between two activities. There are 4 types of relationships or constraints. Number 1, start to start. This means we cannot start a successor activity until its predecessor activity has started. That means the relationship between the starting points of 2 activities. Number 2, start to finish. This means we cannot finish the successor activity until its predecessor activity has started. So, it is the relation between the starting point of one activity and the finishing point of another activity. Number 3, finish to start. This means we cannot start a successor activity until its predecessor activity is finished. This also represents the relation between the starting point of one activity and the finishing point of another activity. Number 4, finish to finish. This means we cannot finish the successor activity until its predecessor activity has finished. That means the relationship between the finishing points of 2 activities. Finish to start is a sequential relationship, and start to start is typically a parallel or overlapping relationship. The source activity whose start or end controls the start or end of another activity is called the from activity. And the target activity whose start or end depends on the start or end of another activity is called the to activity. Step 4. Estimate the durations. Duration is the time between the start and end of an activity. You need to estimate how much time it will take to complete each activity to a quality you would be proud of. Identification of due dates is the most essential aspect of a Gantt chart since it shows project managers not only when the project will start and end but also when each task will take place. Step 5. Develop the schedule or Gantt chart. This is where software is extremely helpful. Create the Gantt chart by loading all information into a project management software tool. Most commonly, Gantt charts are created in Microsoft Excel. As we discussed, the Gantt chart has two axes. The horizontal or x-axis represents the timeline, and the vertical or y-axis represents the list of activities. Timelines are usually placed on the top and displayed in months, weeks, days, or years. The list of activities is usually placed on the left side. They may be organized into activities and sub-activities. Activities are represented by horizontal bars. In addition to its name, an activity is defined by its start time and end time. The interval between the start time and end time is called the duration of the activity. If the start and end times are identical, the duration is equal to 0. A zero-duration activity is commonly called a milestone. Milestones represent the major events like dates, decisions, and deliverables in a project. Add important project milestones in the Gantt chart. Diamonds mostly represent it. Check that schedule contingencies and response plans have also been included. A typical way to address schedule contingencies is to add buffers at the activity level, at the project level, or both. A buffer is an activity that does not consume any resources, and there is a scope to provide additional time and reduce risk. Step 6. Estimate resources. A resource is a means which will be consumed for completion of the activity. Resources can be manpower, money, material, minutes or time, methods and techniques, knowledge and skill. Just like activities, the resources are also hierarchical in nature. For example, suppose resources are human resources or people. In that case, the parent resource is a department, while the child resources are the individual employees. Step 7. Assign reservations. After estimating the resources, they are loaded into the Gantt chart against the respective activities. When resources are assigned to an activity, this assignment is called a reservation. For example, who is the team member responsible for completing a particular activity? Every activity of a project should have an owner. When people take ownership of or responsibility for a task, they are more likely to ensure that it is completed on time and is of expected quality. So, including their names as contributors on the Gantt chart is useful. An activity can have multiple resources reserved. Similarly, a resource can be reserved for more than one activity. The activity that reserves the resource cannot be changed after the reservation is created. You can give reservations to all sorts of resources like budget, human resources, and equipment availability and can mark it on the Gantt chart. The downside of it is that your Gantt chart will look cluttered. Step 8. Continuously use your Gantt chart as a reference. As time passes and you are working through your project, you should use your Gantt chart as a reference as much as possible. It will allow you to assess the current status of your project as well as help in monitoring the progress of that. There are many advantages of the Gantt chart. It is one of the most popular project management tools, allowing project managers to view the progress of a project at a glance. Gantt chart is a quick and easy approach to describe how long it will take to complete a project on time and within budget. In short, you get a clear-cut overview of project activities, the relation or interdependence between activities, duration of each activity and the entire project, progress of the activities and overall project, important due dates and milestones, resources allocation and their utilization in each activity, responsibilities of each team member, impacts of schedule changes, visual alerts in case of scheduling conflicts and contingencies. Gantt chart helps managers to coordinate with the teams easily. It is also a good tool for presentations in team meetings. However, there are certain disadvantages to using the Gantt charts. It requires efforts to create and manage the chart. It requires software to prepare the Gantt chart. If the project is very complex, it is not easy to see all the activities in one chart. Updating a chart is a time-consuming process. Bars represent only the time and not the hours of work. There are very simple steps of making a Gantt chart in Excel. I have given a video link in the description box to understand those steps. You can take this example to practice creating the Gantt chart. Suppose we have a project with the objective to assess the prevalence and risk factors of hypertension in a particular geographical area. The list of the activities in this project in a hierarchical order is: 1. Review of the literature. 2. Development of interview schedules. 3. Getting ethical approval. 4. Getting necessary administrative approvals. 5. Pilot testing of tools and schedules. 6. Field visits for the collection of data. 7. Data entry. 8. Data analysis. 9. Preparation of the report. 10. Dissemination of the findings. First of all, we need to hold a meeting with all the project team members to identify the available resources, start date, duration and end date of the entire project and all the activities in the project. This table lists project activities, their start and end dates and the duration of each activity. Now, follow the steps mentioned in the video to create the Gantt chart in Excel. This is all about the Gantt chart or work schedule.